What's going on, Bulls Nation? The NBA draft is about a day or so away here, and this is going to be my 2025 draft preview video for the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls are the 12th and 45th picks in this NBA draft. I'm going to be talking about in this video the 5 players that I would look to draft if I were the general manager for the Bulls at number 12 here. I will then also talk about what I think the Bulls should be doing with the 45th overall pick. At the end of the video, I will also then be revealing my mock draft for the 2025 NBA draft here. Just the first round, though. I did not do the second round. And we also have a few announcements in this video. But before we get into it, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. First announcement here is that for the NBA draft in the first round on Wednesday, so Wednesday is going to be the first round of the NBA draft, I will be doing a live watch party of the NBA draft with my friend David. David has been on this channel before in a video. He's been a longtime friend of mine, and he loves NBA basketball. If you do not know who David is, here is his Twitter account. He is a Magic fan. He grew up in Orlando, and then he happened to move in Illinois when we were in middle school. But David right now is currently in Phoenix. He does cover Phoenix sports, but he does a lot of Suns coverage. But as you can see here, he does he does some articles for Go Phoenix. He has also written articles for the Six Man Show, which they cover the Orlando Magic. This is like a more of a silly article, but it's still overall good content. So just introducing you guys, if you have not seen David yet before on this channel, he has been in one video on this channel before, though. But he will be with me live reacting to the NBA draft in the first round. So we'll react to all the picks and all the trades live with you guys. So if you're interested in watching the NBA draft with us, stream is already up. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when we go live. It's going to start at about 6:30 p.m. Central Time is when we'll start the stream. Draft starts at 7 p.m. Central Time. All right, so to get into my picks, all right, I just want to first explain to you guys what I kind of look for in an NBA draft. First things first, I do not really look at fit at all when it comes to an NBA draft. At least in my opinion, you should always be looking at best player available. I understand the Bulls have 1 billion guards on the roster. However, I don't think that you should ever be looking to use your NBA picks as a way to fill needs on your roster. That's kind of at least what that tells me in my head is like, if you need a big man, then if you're basically using an NBA draft pick to select a 19-year-old to fill your need of a big man. And obviously, some rookies are not ready to come in and contribute right away. So at least always in my opinion, I always think of, hey, you should be looking at who is the best player available in your eyes. I do look more for potential versus like kind of overall floor, but I do think floor is important. So that's just the way I've always looked at the NBA draft. So if the Bulls, if with the 1 billion guards on the roster, if a guard is available at number 12 and they think he's the best player available with the best potential, then please select the guard. Okay, I always think that is the best thing to do. If you're ever worried about, well, what about minutes and everything, I always just think that, hey, if this player is good, they will get minutes, and you'll filter out the worst players at the end of the day. That's just the way I've always looked at it. That's just my opinion. I know people will disagree with me on that, but that's just explaining my overall opinion. So when it comes to these players I'm about to give you here, these are my opinion at the end of the day. It is all very subjective. I actually really think that past the 3rd overall pick, it is kind of a crapshoot in terms of like who is going to go. There's some obvious like, oh, like this player should go like top 7, but like we really don't know. So I think that at the end of the day, you can have a very different list than I do at the end of the day here. So, but I think that's what's fun about the NBA draft. Per Casey Johnson, though, and this was posted May 19th, so this is obviously a month old. But Casey Johnson said that the top 4 options for the Bulls in May was Asa Newell, Kyle Murray-Boyles, Noah Esenge, and Derek Queen. So these are definitely some names to be looking out for sure. A reminder here, the Bulls had the 12th overall pick. According to Tankathon, they have Kyle Murray-Boyles going to the Bulls here at number 12. But for my first person that I would look for in terms of just, guys that I think could go in this area of the draft here around number 12, my first guy that I have liked a lot since looking at his film, and he is, a player that has recently played. He last played on the 21st of June here, but to me, Noah Esenge is my number 1 guy. If he is available, I really do hope the Bulls select him. Noah Esenge is he's from France, and he's been playing for an international team. for this season. He has recently played, and I'm aware that the last like 3 games for him not been great. But when I look at Senge, his athleticism just completely just jumps through the roof for me. He's a guy that has a very, very long wingspan overall. He's about 6'9", 6'10", but you could just, when you just watch him, like his athleticism and length just pops out at you. And that's something, at least in my opinion, that you cannot teach, okay? This is a guy also that I think defensively he has a lot of upside. I think he can guard multiple positions. I already think he's going to be a pretty solid shot blocker right when he comes into the league. I do think that he will have to work on his perimeter defense a little bit, but with his wingspan, with his overall size, I think that he'll adapt pretty well. This is a guy that I project to be able to guard multiple positions in the NBA, and then defensively, I think he's just going to be a very, very good player. Even if he doesn't become necessarily that good of a perimeter defender, I think he'll be a pretty good interior defender, especially for guys when he's guarding guys around his size. I think he'll be a really good player for guarding like big forwards, and then coming in and being a good shot blocker. On the offensive side, I do think that he will definitely be a bit more of a project. I do think when it comes to his ball handling ability, it is a little bit of work and development here. I won't lie. He doesn't really have much ability to create shots off the dribble at the moment, but what he does have, though, that he's very good at is being a good screener and good roller of being a screener. He also has the ability to sort of kind of pick and pop. His 3-point shot is definitely a work in progress, but I look at the shot and I think that it could get better as time goes on. Biggest thing for me also of why I really, really like him is just that he is one of the youngest players in this draft. He is 18 and a half years old. So like he's basically like Cooper Flagg age. And I think always when it comes to a guy with his length, athleticism, and his size, and already I think that he's going to be an effective finisher at the rim coming into the league. This is a guy that I think has high upside, and I would really be happy if the Bulls somehow are able to take him. I do have a worry that he is probably not going to be available at number 12. He is very much a Raptors pick, and the Raptors have the 9th overall pick here, if I'm remembering. Yeah, so I would not be shocked if Asenge is gone at number 9 here. But if he is available, he is by far my number 1, at least in my opinion. At number 2 here, this is a guy that I think will most likely be selected by the Bulls, and that is Asa Newell. I know that Newell is kind of like, a lot of people kind of go back and forth with him. There's some people that rank him lottery, and there's some people that basically have him at the end of the first round. However, I do think that that's just going to be this draft. I think a lot of guys could kind of go anywhere here. Like Kyle Murray Boyles, he could go lottery, but I could also see him being selected in like the late 20s. But when it comes to Newell, he is probably the guy that I do think the Bulls are going to select. It has been confirmed that Newell has worked out for the Bulls, and I do think that he will most likely be there at number 12. Therefore, I think the Bulls have a high chance of selecting him at number 12. So when it comes to Newell, first and foremost, when it comes to just like his agility and at the combine when they did all the measurements, his max vertical for a big man is very solid. His shuttle time is very, very good for a big man. Lane agility is also very, very good. He is like 6'10", 6'11-ish, 6'11 wingspan here. I won't lie, the wingspan is probably my one worry when it comes to him. Not having at least a 7-foot wingspan is a little bit of a concern for me, but I do think that he will make up for it with his agility, his overall ability to probably guard multiple positions in the league. And I do think that he is a pretty good defender already, and I think he will project to become better. When it comes to Newell, the way that I looked at his film, he reminds me on the defensive end like Joakim Noah. I'm not saying he will become Joakim Noah, but the way that his motor is on the defensive end, where we saw Noah be able to go out and guard multiple positions when he was with the Bulls, but then we also saw with Noah that he's able to run different pick and roll defensive coverages, where we saw a lot of ice coverage under Thibodeau, but then we also saw Noah in the drop coverage. Noah has the ability to blitz, and I think that Newell, from what I have seen, like be has done all of that in his time in Georgia, where we see him switch on to guys and guard the perimeter pretty effectively. I then also see him be a good interior defender and come over, rotate, and block some shots. He also, at least in my opinion, I think defensively with the pick and roll coverage, I think he could do almost any coverage, which is great. The one thing obviously about Newell that I think a lot of people are always kind of concerned about is just that this guy is definitely more of a play finisher than a play creator. Newell is going to be a guy that has to be set up for most of his buckets, especially early on. Now he does shoot like over 73% at the rim, which is great. He made a lot of dunks in his freshman year in Georgia. But he is somebody that's probably most likely to be set up for shots. He probably won't be looking to create any shots. When it comes to Newell, I understand that part, but I love the fact that he's very efficient at the rim. That's something that I really value for a big man, and I do project him to be a center in the NBA. I know like there's this all about like, oh, is he a tweener? Is he a 4 instead of a 5? I think he is a 5, and I think that the way that Georgia kind of ran their offense, it kind of hindered him a little bit. And even with that being said, he still averaged 15 points per game. The three-point shot is definitely a work in progress, but I can definitely see him becoming a good three-point shooter in this league. And if he does, man, that'd be fantastic. The way my comparison for him, it's kind of just like it's Nick Claxton, but ideally he gets a jump shot. Claxton, when we saw Claxton in his like best defensive days, like Claxton's able to, you know, switch out on the perimeter, but also be a great shot blocker, great finisher at the rim. I see with Newell similar things, maybe a little bit less of a shot blocker, but more of a better guy in the passing lane to be able to steal the ball, uses agility for his defense. But I also can see him having a three-point shot, and that'd be great. So potentially your defensive anchor for the Bulls if they draft him, and then ideally he gets a jump shot that he can add on, whether that's from 18 feet or from the three-point line. I would think it'd be great no matter what. So Newell, overall, I think he will most likely be drafted by the Bulls because I think he will be available, and I will be pretty satisfied if the Bulls do pick him. My number 3 guy is Thomas Sorber. So Sorber is definitely more of a shot blocker compared to, like, a better shot blocker compared to Newell. Okay, I do think that Sorber has that sort of shot blocking ability a little bit better, and he does have like the overall physical attributes to help with that, with a 7'6" wingspan compared to obviously 6'11" wingspan for Newell. With Sorber, I do think he is a little bit more offensively challenged. He has like a bit of a face-up game in the post, but it's not fantastic. But maybe there's something there. Decent in the pick and roll. I have less faith in him becoming a good jump shooter though in the league. His free throw percentage is a little bit worse, and his jump shot's a little wonky. But maybe he eventually has that ability to become a good defense or offensive player and have that offensive upside. But the big reason why you would be drafting a guy like Sorber is his defensive ability at the rim. He does move pretty well overall with his size, but it isn't obviously to the level of like how Newell is able to move out on the perimeter. But he's a guy, I know some people say Roy Hibbert. I don't necessarily see Roy Hibbert, but I do see a pretty good shot blocker and ideally a good overall interior scorer. So hopefully that's something that Sorber can become. But in terms of like shot blocking ability, this is someone that I think is pretty intriguing, and hopefully that is something that will translate immediately, and then he can build on his defensive game moving forward. He is also a center, at least in my head. Like, I know it's listed PF/center, but I don't really see either Newell or Sorber becoming a power forward in today's game, personally. But Sorber would be my number 3 pick, assuming that Asenga and Newell are off the board. Then Sorber would be my number 3 pick. Now this is probably going to be a little bit interesting for most people, but I do have Malawak as number 4. Now I do think that Sorber and Malawak for me are kind of interchangeable. If you prefer one or the other, that's fine. Honestly, like, if the Bulls somehow are able to draft either one, I'd be pretty satisfied at the end of the day. When it comes to Malawak, I mean, obviously this guy is supposed to be like Rudy Gobert 2.0, and his efficiency at the rim, a lot of lobs thrown to him. He's very good at finishing at the rim. 7'2", I think it was a 9'7" standing reach, if I'm not mistaken. 9'6" standing reach. But I mean, yeah, like, this is a guy that we're looking at as like, okay, yeah, this at the rim, Rudy Gobert level type defense, and then ideally a good pick and roll threat. The one thing about him that does concern me is just the rebounding, and I think that's just kind of the reason why I'm a little bit less on him than Newell. I know at the end of the day, I do think Malawak is probably going to go top 10. I could definitely see Brooklyn taking him at number 8 here. But I think my biggest concern is just the rebounding aspect for just some reasons, but it's mostly just because I'm like, hey, you're 7'2", and I don't think that you're going to really do anything else much on offense besides be a screener and a roller, an offensive rebounder, obviously. But even then, that's like, it wasn't like amazing for him. So I that's like my only big concern about it. I'm like, hey, if you're going to be Rudy Gobert, then I need you to get the rebounds too. But being a good shot blocker is great, but I would love the rebounds as well. That's kind of like my only thing. And again, I don't think he's going to suddenly become like a 20-point per game scorer in the league. But obviously, his age is something that's, you know, he's one of the younger players in the draft, so that's something that a lot of people look at. And you can't teach, you know, 9'6" standing reach, 7'2", and a guy that can move very, very well for a guy at his size. He does a very good job in all defensive coverages for what I've seen at Duke. So something that I do like about him is just like, I think you can run almost any defensive coverage with him as well as a center. So that's good when it comes to Malawak. Now my fifth guy, some people have this guy also going like before the Bulls are able to select here, and that could happen. But for me, Carter Bryant would be my fifth person. Carter Bryant, he's a guy, I believe he did come off the bench, if I'm not mistaken, for Arizona, but his defensive upside is very, very intriguing. Now, the other thing about Carter Bryant is his athleticism and his overall just measurements. I mean, he had a 39.5 standing or max vertical, excuse me. This guy, like, his shuttle like wasn't like top, but it's very solid. Sprint was very good. His athleticism in transition really pops out. Carter Bryant, obviously, the biggest thing with him is just like what's the offensive upside. Defensively, I think that he can come in and be an impactful defender day one, and then continue to get better at being a defender. His offensive upside, though, is that he doesn't dribble the ball basically ever, like right now, or his time in Arizona. Like, he doesn't dribble. He's mostly a catch and shoot shooter and a guy that has to rely on cuts and transition opportunities to score. Not really a guy you're gonna find driving to the basket, run pick and roll, or anything like that. He's just not one of those guys, at least for now. But obviously, if he can become something like that, that's the intrigue with Carter Bryant, and he has some of the physical tools to potentially become a more offensive-oriented player as he continues along in the league. He reminds me a lot of OG Anunoby, just kind of the way I see him play. But obviously, more raw OG Anunoby than current OG Anunoby. So he's a guy that I think that can be very impactful immediately as he comes in. I think his motor defensively is also pretty good. But then if he, you know, he has that upside, and if he can hit that upside, it'd be a fantastic pick for the Bulls. So those are my 5 overall guys. Now, if you're thinking like, oh, hey, Malawak's probably not going to be there. If I had to give you a 6th guy, it would be Yakuchonis. I won't lie, though. Like, there is a gap, at least in my head, between Bryant to Yakuchonis. But that's just my opinion at the end of the day. But Yakuchonis, he does concern me defensively a lot. His turnovers are a big problem, at least in my head. But I do see, obviously, the ability to create his own shot and run the pick and roll effectively. Like, there is that in there, and I can kind of, you know, see some of that upside when it comes to Yakuchonis. After that, man, if you're wondering about like number 7, I really like it. You can kind of convince me for a lot of different guys, but I don't really love anybody after that. I think that if I give you 6, there's a pretty high likely chance that, hey, there's one of these guys is going to get picked by the Bulls here. But if you know, if like someone like Johan Behringer gets picked, which I know the Bulls have worked him out, I'd be pretty shocked, but I also wouldn't be like majorly shocked of like, hey, like this guy shouldn't go lottery. Like, you can make the argument at the end of the day. Maybe he should go lottery, but I personally would not be picking Behringer at number 12 if it was up to me. So those are, I guess, like 6 guys I've given you. And I am looking at least for the Bulls to select one of these 5 guys here. Again, I think Malawak will not be there at the end of the day, so I think Newell is the most likely selection. After that, maybe it's Sorber. If Asenge is there, which, you know, his stock seems to kind of rise and fall like every day, so I don't really know where we're gonna find Asenge, but if he is there, he'd be in my number 1 personally, but I know some people will disagree with that, so that's what it is at the end of the day. Now, reminder here, so those are my first round ideas for the Bulls. If I were the general manager, that'd be kind of the main guys I'd be looking to draft at number 12 and hoping that at least some of them are there. Granted, I don't have an interview with any of these guys, so that is something just to keep in mind. I do think the interview process is very important, but I just have film and obviously other scouts to tell me what they think. However, I do think that you guys that are probably watching, you probably know a lot more about these guys than I do, but I like to just give my own opinion at the end of the day. When it comes to the 45th pick overall, for the Bulls in this draft, the Bulls are in a very interesting spot when it comes to their 2nd round pick. The biggest thing right now when I look at it is that the Bulls overall roster spot situation is not amazing for a 2nd round pick. So just going off of just general stuff here. So the free agents for the Bulls this upcoming offseason is Josh Giddey, Trey Jones, and Taylor Horton-Tucker. The other 12 players that were on the roster last season and are going to be, right now, at least projected to be on the roster for this upcoming season. Okay, they all have guaranteed contracts. Okay, obviously moves can be made here. Like, you could trade Dalen Terry away, but no matter what, though, you're still looking at 12 guys locked in for next season in terms of their contracts. Josh Giddey is going to get re-signed. I'd be shocked if he doesn't. So there goes one roster spot. One roster spot's going to go to the 12th overall pick here, okay? Unless the Bulls decide to trade that away, but I'd be shocked if they did. So there's that roster spot. So we're down to 14. So if you want to bring back Trey Jones, then that would be the 15th roster spot, okay? And you can only have 15 guys on your roster. So if they don't bring back Trey Jones, then hey, use it for your second round pick. But if they decide to sign a different free agent or decide to bring back Trey Jones, then you don't have a roster spot available for a second round pick, assuming you keep the other 12 guys that you already had on your roster, which again could change. You know, you could trade Lonzo at any day here. But basically what I just want to, when it comes to the second round pick here for the Bulls, I really don't know who would be the best player to select. I won't lie. Kobe Bryant from Kentucky is kind of intriguing to me, but I don't really know if he would be the best selection there, if he would even get there. Now, Roko Sikorsky is a guy that is listed here for Tankathon. I would not mind him at all. I would also not mind it if he was a draft and stash. You know, he just stays in Australia for a year. When it comes to the second round pick, though, my biggest point that I wanted to make in this video is that I just want the Bulls to use it in some sort of fashion. Whether that is that you trade the second round pick and you trade it to get like another second round pick for next season or next draft, like next year, or you decide to use it on a draft and stash, or decide to draft somebody and have them on the roster for this upcoming season. Either way, I don't care how you use it, just use it for value. The one thing I do not want this Bulls team to do is to trade it for $3.5 million, okay? Please do not trade this second round pick for $3.5 million, all right? Please get actual some value out of it. Whether, again, it's just you use it in a trade, or you use it to get other draft picks down the road, or use it on a draft and stash. Hell, you can use it on a player and then sign that player to a two-way contract. That's fine. But just please use it in some sort of value. I don't care what it is. Just don't just sell it for $3.5 million or any money in that matter. Please don't just pull the whole Jordan Bell thing again. That whole situation really made me upset with how the Bulls used that second round pick. Don't do that again. Just please do not do that again. That's all I ask for when it comes to the Bulls second round pick here. Just use it for some sort of value. So I'm not gonna really say who I think the Bulls should draft here. I honestly, when it comes to the second round, it's very, very tough for me. I've looked at some of these guys and I'm just like, I don't really like any of them, but that's the second round these days. So if someone obviously falls from the first round like heavily, which I doubt they get to 45, but if someone does fall from the first round or projected first round, yeah, go ahead and take them. But I think it's gonna be pretty hard to kind of figure out like what would be good value right now in terms of draft selections in the second round. All right, with that being said, here is my mock draft when it comes to the first round of this draft. So very obvious, like Cooper Flag and Don Harper, I think are 1-2. I think that's pretty much set in stone. I do think VJ Edgecombe's going to go number 3. I think that makes the most sense for the 76ers. Keep in mind, I do think that means that Ace Bailey will fall. It does seem like Ace Bailey's stock is dropping because he's not willing to do workouts here. So I would not be shocked if he does fall here to like number 7. I do have Asa Newell going to the Bulls at number 12. So just kind of give you some review or an overview of just like what I have as the mock draft. I'm sure I'm going to get plenty of these wrong. This is a very, very weird draft, at least in my opinion, after number 3. Like Knipple could go number 4, but I can also see Trey Johnson or Jeremiah Fears or even Bailey going number 4. So we really don't know when it comes to this draft past like number 3, and even number 3 could be a question mark. So it's overall fun though. I think it's a fun thing to kind of always do to see like how many you got right when you look back at it. But yeah, there's a couple things I want to point out when it comes to this mock draft. If you're kind of a person that really likes Derek Queen, I'm sure you're aware that I did not mention Derek Queen in my list of players. I'm not that high in Queen personally. You can ask me why in the comments, or come into one of my streams and ask me why, but I'm not that high on Queen. I'm also not high on Drake Powell at all. He really does remind me of Patrick Williams, and I think that's all that needs to be said. So I understand, obviously, there's some physical tools with him that are very enticing, but I get, unfortunately, I get Patrick Williams vibes from him. So it's probably my PTSD talking, but that's just the whole thing. I'm just like, I'm not a big fan of him, but I know some Bulls fans are interested in him. So here is the rest of my mock draft. This will be pulled up during my live stream, during my watch party with David on draft day, June 25th. Stream starts at about 6:30 p.m. Central Time, so be there if you're looking to watch party with us. A quick overview of who the Bulls we at least know that have been confirmed to have worked out: Carter Bryant, Demon, Newell, Behringer, Danny Wolf, Drake Powell, etc. Obviously, this is just who has been confirmed. The Bulls could have worked out many other people that we have not known about yet. And this front office is pretty secretive at the end of the day. So either way, though, I am really heavily looking forward to this draft. I'm looking forward to see who the Bulls pick. Whoever the Bulls do pick, I'm going to be rooting them on and cheering for them and hoping that they can reach their potential. And I'm really looking forward to seeing who the Bulls end up selecting and watching them play in Summer League. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comment section down below who you want to see the Bulls draft with the number 12th overall pick. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.